In this final segment on Ross Lesson 2 on Hebrew vowels, I want to go through two handouts, one on Hebrew syllables and how to think of Hebrew syllables, and another handout that has to do with what sort of vowels usually go in certain types of Hebrew syllables. Let's look at the first handout here. This is called Hebrew Syllables. This is a handout that I designed to summarize some aspects of the Ross material, also with a few helpful things I hope on my own. When we think about Hebrew words consist of syllables, just as in any language. Any language has syllables if it has words. And in Hebrew, if you want to know how many syllables a word has, you always count the number of vowels it has, because vowels are the nucleus of a syllable. You can't really have a syllable unless you have a vowel. So one vowel will make up one syllable. Let's take a look at the example here from davar. We have this word, which means word, right here. And this is a kametz followed by another kametz. So there's two vowels, and therefore in Hebrew there must be two syllables, because for every vowel there must be a syllable. If you look at the next word, we have a kametz, and a sigol. There are three vowels here, and therefore there must be three syllables. And in fact there are. If you listen to the pronunciation of this word, it's ha-a-retz, ha-a-retz, ha-a-retz. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ha-a-retz. This one had two syllables. This is davar, davar. Two syllables, because of two vowels. Three syllables because we had three vowels. Point number 2. Every Hebrew syllable has at least one consonant to lead the vowel. You're going to have a vowel to have a syllable, and wherever there's a vowel, there has to be at least one consonant in front of it, leading it, beginning the syllable. Every vowel needs a consonant. So every syllable in Hebrew then must have at least one consonant plus one vowel that is accompanied by that consonant. Now when we think of Hebrew syllables, we can think of them in terms of being closed or open. Let's let the letter C equal consonant and V equal vowel. An open syllable is a syllable that has one consonant followed by one vowel. We call this CV structure, consonant followed by vowel. I have some examples of some open syllables here. I have a lamed followed by a holem vav. Remember, holem vav is a vowel. And lamed is a consonant vowel. Me, mem, consonant, kirikyot, historically long vowel. One consonant, one vowel. Gala, gimel, kametz is one consonant and one vowel. This is an open syllable. The next syllable is la, a lamed consonant followed by a kametz hey. Remember, kametz hey is one historically long vowel. The hey is not a consonant, and so this is also an open syllable as well. A closed syllable, on the other hand, consists of a consonant followed by a vowel, and then another consonant that closes the syllable, that ends the syllable. We call that a CVC type of structure. So think about these words. These are closed syllables here. I have a mem consonant, ser is my vowel, tav is my closing consonant, CVC, closed syllable. Go ahead and put a C there. I have a beit consonant with a holem for its vowel, and then a sheen for the closing consonant. That is also a closed syllable. Dam, dalet, consonant, pathach, vowel, mem, closing consonant. This is a closed syllable. Now look at davar. The first syllable is dalet, consonant, and kametz, which is a vowel. That is only a consonant vowel. That is an open syllable. But the next syllable is bet, kametz, resh, consonant, vowel, consonant. That is a closed syllable. So we have over here open syllable, open syllable, open syllable, open syllable. Over here, closed, 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 open, closed. I want you to notice here, historically long vowels, remember those are vowel points plus a mater, constitute a complete vowel. Do not confuse the mater here as a consonant. Thus, when you look at the word me, right up here for example, me consists of meme, one consonant, and kirik yod, one vowel. You will notice that in my word processor, whenever I try to produce a Hebrew vowel, there is always a little circle here as a placeholder for a consonant, because the people that designed the script know that the Hebrew vowel cannot stand on its own. It always must go with a vowel. So that little circle there doesn't really stand for anything. It's just a placeholder waiting for a Hebrew consonant to be put in there to accompany that vowel. Now, point number 3 here is a very important rule. Every Hebrew consonant in a Hebrew word, every Hebrew consonant has a corresponding vowel or a symbol called a shava, which we're going to see in lesson 3, unless the final consonant, unless the consonant's the final letter. Let's take a look at the examples here. I have the Hebrew word beit. There look like there are 3 consonants here, beit, yod, and tav. All right? Now, the question here is about the yod. Is this yod that we're looking at in beit, is that a real consonant yod, or is it a mater yod? Well, here's the question. Does this yod have a vowel point or a shava symbol below or beside it? Under the yod, I should have something under there if it's a real consonant, because every Hebrew word has, for every consonant, a vowel or a shava symbol under it, except for the final one. So this yod has nothing under it. There's no vowel pointing. That tells us that that can't be a consonant, because if it were a consonant, it would need a vowel or a yod. A vowel or a shava. And so what that tells us is that the yod here can't be a consonant. It must be a vowel, and it must be part of this vowel called seri yod, the historically long vowel. Vowels do not take vowels under them. Only consonants do. Take a look at the next word. We have yeled. This also has a yod and a lamed and a dalet, just as beit had a yod. Is this yod a consonant yod, or is it a mater? Is it a vowel marking yod? We'll look under the yod. Is there a vowel under it? The answer is yes. Well, therefore, it must be a consonant, because consonants take vowels. Vowels do not take vowels under them. Only consonants do. The final comment here on syllable structure is the matter of accent. In Hebrew, the standard accent or tone falls on the final syllable. Or to put it another way, the default place to stress your syllable is always the final syllable, unless you're told to do otherwise. If the word is ever accented on a non-final syllable, then a special accent mark is used in the Hebrew grammar textbooks. So under point A, Biblical Hebrew Grammar textbooks place the symbol, and it's the symbol right here, over the consonant that begins a stressed syllable, if the stress is not on the final syllable. So take a look at this word here. Rechev. 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 Notice that I would expect this final syllable to be stressed, but since the stress actually goes with the re of rechev, this vowel point is added to tell us to stress the non-final syllable. This is the word for chariot, by the way. The word for land is eretz. Eretz. Final syllable stress is the norm, unless I have an accent mark telling me not to stress the final but another syllable. And sure enough, here's my accent mark, and that tells me to stress the first syllable. So it's not eretz, but rather eretz. 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 If the stress is on the final syllable, then you just don't mark any accent mark at all, because the assumption is that you'll stress it. Now, when we give English transliteration, we will place this little accent mark right here, this is the English accent mark, over the vowel that is being stressed. In the Hebrew, the accent mark is going over the consonant whose vowel is being stressed. Let me give you an example of why this is important. Let's take the word ohel. This is the word tent. Ohel is how you would pronounce this if it had final syllable standard stress. Ohel. But the fact of the matter is that the accent is on the first syllable. Now here's the question. Where do I put my accent mark? Do I put it above the vowel point? Right there? The answer is no. The vowel point goes above the consonant whose vowel, the accent mark goes over the consonant whose vowel is being stressed. So in Hebrew, my accent mark goes over the aleph here. Okay? It just so happens that here, since the vowel is under the aleph, the accent mark goes above both. And because the vowel is under the resh, the accent goes above both. But if I have one of the vowels that occurs beside the consonant, I can't put the accent mark in Hebrew above the vowel. It goes above the consonant whose vowel is being stressed. But when we transliterate that vowel, we are going to put the accent mark over the vowel. So this is rechev and eretz, accenting the first syllable. My final handout for us to consider for the syllable lesson of Ross chapter 2 is my handout called Rules for Hebrew Syllables. I'm only going to focus on 2 of the rules for Hebrew syllables here, and we may discuss one of the other 2 among the first 4 later, and then the 5th one's important. For now, I want you to only focus on 2 syllable rules. Syllable rule number 2 and syllable rule number 3. You need to memorize these 2. The reason it's important to memorize number 2 and number 3 is because we have this word requires here in the rules. These other 2 rules, numbers 1 and 4, they are preference rules, which means that they're not airtight, and there's lots and lots of exceptions to these. But with 2 and 3, we are looking at pretty ironclad rules here for what type of vowels can go and what type of syllables. Over here, we have some words with some numbers above them. These numbers above these words are keyed to rules number 1 through 4. So again, we're only focusing on rules number 2 and 3. So let's look at those. I've created some stupid mnemonic devices to try to help my students remember these things. So we have OPSRL, which I've created a mnemonic for. Old preachers' sermons are long. What does that mean? An open pretonic syllable requires a long vowel. An open pretonic syllable requires a long vowel. I'm using a term here that you have not come across yet in our discussions together anyway, and that is pretonic. You do know what open means, but what does pretonic mean? Pretonic means before the tone, or that is to say before the stress. Pre, before. Tonic, tone, which equals stress. So a pretonic syllable is the syllable right before the stress syllable. The Hebrew requirement is that if a syllable is both open and pretonic, that is, it occurs right before the tone, then Hebrew requires a long vowel to be there. Let's take a look at our example here of number 2. It's in the word davar. This syllable is susceptible to the rule. How do I know that? Well, if I look at the second syllable of davar, this is the stressed syllable. There's no accent mark because we always stress the final syllable as a matter of course. That means that if the var is the tone or the accent, then da must be the pretone or the pretonic syllable. Is that open? Well, we have a consonant followed by a vowel. Consonant vowel is open, and it's pretonic. Therefore, Hebrew requires that that vowel must be long. It requires a long vowel. You know that a kametz could be a short O or a long A. Which one must it be here? Right. Since Hebrew requires a long vowel in an open and pretonic syllable, then this must be the long A. And it is. Da-var. Da-var. So old preacher sermons are long. An open pretonic syllable requires a long vowel. Rule number 3 has the acronym CUS. A closed, unaccented syllable requires a short vowel. Let's look at our example here. The CUS rule is going to apply to this syllable labeled with the number 3 here. Again, number 3 is related to rule number 3. Notice that I have ritz. The is open, and notice the accent mark is on the so it is the tonic syllable. That's where the tone or the stress is. And if this is the syllable where the stress is, then by definition, this syllable cannot be stressed. It has to be unaccented. Notice it's closed. I have a resh, a sigol, and a sadi. A consonant followed by a vowel followed by a consonant. That means that this is closed. And also, it's unaccented. That means that it's going to have to follow rule number 3. A closed unaccented syllable requires a short vowel. Sigol is, in fact, a short vowel, and so this does follow the rule. Yea, verily, yea. It must follow the rule. So these two rules are ironclad. Hebrew will follow them perfectly. And if you can figure this out, it's going to help you in the long run. Memorize these rules. I know it may seem sort of foolish to have to do that, but believe me, as I mentioned before, if you will do the things that I tell you to do, you'll actually learn how to read Hebrew. And that's our goal in this class. The final thing we need to say about lesson 2 is something about the furtive pathach. Furtive pathach is a pathach that sneaks in there and gets pronounced even though it's not really supposed to be there. As an example, Ross gives us the name of a very famous character in the Hebrew Bible named Noah. Notice that this is how Noah's name is pronounced. I have a nun followed by a holam. That would be my first syllable, no. And then presumably I have a het, and that should have a pathach under it there. And you would think that this would be pronounced no ha, right? Vowels are supposed to always have consonants in front of them in terms of the pronunciation. So holam has a nun leading it in front. Pathach presumably has a het in front of it. And so we would, if we didn't know any better, think that we might pronounce that as noha, noha. But that is in fact incorrect. Why? Because this pathach is not a real pathach. It's not a real vowel doing what a real vowel does. It is rather a sneaky, furtive pathach. The word furtive means sneaky in English, and sure enough, it's sneaked in there as well. What's happening here is that when we have a strong guttural like het, ayin, hey, situations like that where they are closing a syllable, or they're closing a syllable at the end of the word, and I have a long vowel in front of that, and that is what I have here, a holam is a long vowel, then the furtive pathach sneaks in there and helps me to pronounce the guttural, which is produced in the back of the throat. In the back of the throat, where the gutturals are pronounced, the vowel sound A is also produced. If you open your mouth and try to say the A sound, ah, 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 you'll notice that you're using the back of the mouth, the back of the throat to do that. The A vowel is a back vowel. So as the mouth is anticipating the guttural sound, which is also produced in the back of the mouth, this furtive pathach sneaks in there. So ideally, I would have pronounced Noah with just a holam. No, no. But the het forces me to open my mouth a bit to pronounce it. Noach, Noach. And so this furtive pathach sneaks in. So the sequence of the O followed by a very tiny A sound, both of those are coming before the het. Noach, Noach. And that's why in many printed Bibles and textbooks, the furtive pathach is sometimes set to the right, not directly under the consonant, but just to the right of it to indicate that it actually needs to be pronounced before the consonant. I'll give you another example of a furtive pathach, and it occurs with the word for spirit or breath. Normally it would be ruch, but because this is a strong guttural closing the vowel, closing the word, syllable at the end of the word, preceded by a long vowel, the furtive pathach sneaks in, and it now becomes ruach, ruach. So how are we going to transliterate these? We can transliterate N, O is a long O, okay? Then we have to put the A vowel before the het, Noach, Noach. I have seen some people superscript the A to indicate that it's not functioning as a full vowel. This is going to be written spelled R, U, with the pointy party hat to represent the shurik, and then not the het yet, we got to get that pathach, that's furtive, and then the het with the dot under it. So ruach either that way or superscripted. All right. Let me just point out that because originally the word Noach didn't have the furtive pathach, and the word ruach didn't have the furtive pathach, and I don't even consider these to be true, genuine A-class vowels here, I would still consider this to be a one-syllable word. Don't even try to pronounce this A fully. Noach, Noach, ruach, ruach. They're still one-syllable words. And so if you had to divide it, I wouldn't divide it. I wouldn't split it up into two syllables. Okay, that's all.